What you want, I'm on two. And say
Elevate naturally. Hey, he's a banger, right? He's got some other good songs too, I'm not gonna lie. I'll send you some more. Heat. Anyways. So today, looking at NASDAQ as per usual. Sent out the daily bias if you've not read that already. Go ahead and read that. Not the best price action coming into the morning, to be completely honest. Yesterday, I decided to sit out and I posted an entire video regarding how to spot low probability conditions coming into the session. So that way, you don't have to lose or you don't have to sit and watch the price action to see sometimes when it's bad. And you can just come into the morning and know, okay, this is something I don't want to be engaging in. That video is just for the private group. So you can go to the models and reviews section and watch that later if you want to. It's about a 20-30 minute video, so it's not super long. Today, looking for bullish prices coming into today. We finally got some movement back up into the range. You got buy side, buy side, buy side, buy side, all as targets. So that's what I was favoring for the morning. But then coming into it, obviously still within this range. There's not really any displacement from minute onwards. We got this nice displacement up here. It could have been a little bit better, right? We could have seen a larger of a breakaway gap or something like that. But then we're stuck within this range. And then the 15-minute and 5-minute, it just looked the same exact thing we're going to get as yesterday, right? Consolidation kind of up, down, up, down, up, down. And the 5-minute coming into the session and the 1-minute, you probably saw this. This is not high quality price action, as you probably could have tell. So that's why I said, okay, I'm going to let opening range play out. Let me see the first, couple 10-20 minutes just to see what it wants to do. So it doesn't look too bad. I mean, notice the fact that we don't really have any inefficiencies. Like you've got a tiny one here. You could mark as your first presentation, but there's not. It's still wicks back and forth, refilling all the areas, and there's no clean displacement. So for me personally, obviously, since we have no news, my go-to kind of time window for entries is macro times, and those are even more important on non-news days. So I'm looking for since it's kind of choppy, I want to see added confluence on top of added confluence. So I'm just going to look for a very standard ATM model today. So I'm waiting for this 5-minute to give me something that is in line with higher prices. And then the 1-minute give me a standard entry, and we've got macro time lining up here in about 4 minutes or so. So, and I really don't have any need to trade, right? We have Thursday, Friday, which should be great. Even tomorrow can be not too bad. FOMC minutes is not the real FOMC, so be careful about reading that on the Forex Factory. When you see FOMC minutes, it's like the downgraded version of the real FOMC. It's not a tier 1 news release. You could probably call it a tier 2 news release, or even a tier 3. It does not nearly have as much volatility nor effect on the AM session during the day, and obviously nothing previously in the pre-market. So tomorrow I look at it as kind of same thing like today. You walk into it, it looks good, it's tradable. If it's bad, you're not going to force anything just because it's a news day or whatever. So I'm just sitting here patiently watching to see if we do get any good PA. I'll start tape reading it. Otherwise, I have no problem in closing out the stream at 10:10 or 10:30 or whatever with no trades. So that's my kind of, I guess, expectations for the day. And we can see we're still just hovering around this sell side here. And there's a 1 hour gap. We've got liquidity on both sides of the market too. We've got previous daily low down here, previous daily high up here, and actually it's a little bit higher. And then we've got buy side, buy side, buy side all the way up through. And I mentioned yesterday in the stream that prior to those high impact news drivers in the week, what are you expecting the weekly or the days to do? Preferably accumulate either sideways or even like diagonal accumulation, right? That's low resistance kind of liquidity. You've got that first news driver being the manipulation, and then expansion up through and standard open, low, high close that you see. So this Monday and Tuesday prior to those news drivers are not going to be high probability. They may be medium at best, but that's why you're kind of seeing this price action unfold. And I suggest anyone to go back in and watch that review stream that we did yesterday if this kind of stuff is troubling to you or concerns you of how do we spot this kind of stuff. And obviously it is a lot of it stems from the trust in your model. If you don't trust your model, if you don't understand when setups are going to form and how good of the setups are going to be, you'll start taking everything it's giving it to you because you don't trust the fact that when my model is there, I'm going to be able to smash it out of the park. And that's why with that demo account, I was trying to just showcase, here are the highest quality setups playing out. And I actually have to reset that account. We did get up to 50K in about, I don't know, a month, about a month and a half. And these are all, for the most part, just trading days where the day, the session are lining up, or maybe just the days lining up. And that's all you need, right? So it's just showcasing, okay, on the highest probability of days, you can easily get the entire session range or the daily range if you know what you're looking for. And that obviously takes practice. But if you don't see that enough, then every single opportunity the market's giving you is going to make you overtrade. Overtrading sometimes is it's two parts. Obviously, there is the overtrading part of it, but it's always a coping mechanism. And sometimes that coping mechanism stems from the fear that you're not actually going to get enough setups. So what you do is you actually overtrade and almost prove to yourself, look, I can see all these different setups. Meanwhile, you're probably doing more damage than you want to, and you're in your mental and to your physical than is needed. So it always stems from some sort of fear, and obviously a lack of belief in yourself and of the model. Hebrews 11:1, the assurance of things hoped for, the convictions of things not seen. It does, 100%, yeah. Romans 8:25, yep. And blessed is the man who believes without seeing. Yeah, belief is extremely, extremely important in trading. Mark Douglas is the one who opened my eyes to that with Disciplined Trader. Great book. That's one of those books where, like, I was looking for something like that for 4 years, and it was until I read Disciplined Trader that I was like, yeah, this is exactly what I was trying to find. So if you're looking for a psych book, or if you're just looking for a book in general, I'm not affiliate or anything with Mark Douglas. It's just a really good read. So I would encourage you to check it out. So here's macro time. I want to see us displace, if we're bullish, displace above this first presentation gap, and get some sort of 5 minute, a healthy 5 minute candle. I don't really care if it comes all the way up and takes out the AM session high and doesn't give a gap entry. I want it to give me more. I don't want to try and buy the bottom in this case. I don't even want to sometimes give me the low risk buy. I want to get the first stage or the second stage, one of these two. So that way I know the order flow is actually in line with my bias. I'm not just buying something that's going to be stuck in the consolidation, right? You look at all the consolidation moves, you get that all the time. But you get this first stage and then it drops and there's no second stage or anything like that. So I'm fine with missing some of the bottom. In this case, I don't want to take low the session to high the session. I'm fine with here to here if he'll give it to me. But then in that case, that's where entry becomes even more important, where if you're trying to get near the SMR or at the low risk buy, the exact entry technique you use is not going to be as important as an entry technique you use higher up the move. It seems counterintuitive, but if you think about it, when we're higher up in the move, in order for you to actually get a good trade out of that, you need to have a tighter stop. You need to have a really good entry. The exit's going to be the same, but in order to squeeze the most amount of juice out of that, right, if our take profit's up here, and then we got to put our stop at the swing low, whatever, because you think, oh, what if I get in here and it retraces all the way to discount, etc. You're left with a 1-to-1 or a 2-to-1. I don't really want to do that. I still want a 2+ on each of my trades minimum. So if I were to get up in here, right, I'm going to wait for some sort of higher quality entry that gives me a tighter stop. So even if we're just targeting the London high, you can still squeeze a decent amount of juice out of that move. So finally, one little gap here. This is not really inefficient. If you look at just the left of it, buying, selling, buying, selling, buying, selling, up through that. So this area was already painted through so many times. You didn't miss any paint in here. It doesn't really need to come back. So I would favor, like I said, gap through this first presentation gap, and then we can start to hold bullish PD arrays. Then I'll start to look for longs. And whether or not this is the actual first presentation gap doesn't really matter to me. Still inefficient. So we're just going to watch this area. I'm not going to mark it out. And in this kind of price action, if you will 100% test your patience and test your trust. Because Friday was a bank holiday. Saturday, Sunday, obviously you can't trade. Monday, if you didn't take any trades, that leaves you with, that's about 5 days of no trading. And if that's weird to you, or if it makes you uncomfortable, oh, I haven't gotten a trade in a minute, that's something you got to confront. Don't push that away. Don't, cope with it by taking a stupid trade. Instead, figure out why is it that you feel the need to trade or the need to take a trade. Right? So if you look at each individual day as just doing your job, you don't worry about, oh, when am I going to get a setup? And that's why I say it's rooted in fear, because it's always over trading and over leveraging is always rooted in some sort of fear of either missing a move or not getting enough setups or whatever it may be. How much do you take off when taking profits today? As an example, say you anticipate previous daily high to go. How much would you take off at London? Let's look at previous daily high. Like here. If you want to count that, right? Previous daily high. Even this buy side, right? Okay, well, let's say London to previous daily high. I normally have, I would take, so normally anytime I'm, let's say high prob, lower prob, right? High probability conditions, I'm going to take normally 20% off at partials and leave 80%, if not more. Let's say 20 to 50% at partials, and then 50 to 80% as my take profit, and maybe leaving an extra, 1 or 2 contracts as runners, right? Like another 20% as runners. Lower probability, it's actually inversed. I'll take more of my contracts off at partial, and I'll almost like leave runners towards my real take profit, and I won't really have any there's not going to be any real runners, let's say. So let's say 20%, 20 to 50% TP, and then 0 runners. And that way I'm taking partials. When everything's in line, I'm taking less partials and holding more towards my main TP. And when less things are in line, I'm taking more off of my partials, less to my TP, and then I'm not leaving any runners. Now, that's my personal preference because I'd rather get my money off the table than to hope rather than just be smart, I think, for me personally. I'd rather just close it out, take what's given to me, especially if it's a low probability setup, leave 0 runners, and then when it's a high probability setup, okay, let's leave some of it on. So for this specific example, I would be fine taking probably like 20 to 50 off here, maybe about 50 off here, 50 off here, or 50, 30, and then leave 1 or 2 contracts up for runners to that higher buy side. So that would be kind of what I'm looking for, and this is normally my kind of exit criteria for any given day. It's more subconscious to me. I don't really have this written down. Oh, take it off here, take it off here. It's really just what I'm feeling. That's not really exactly. These percentages are obviously rough, but I'll leave around 10 to 20% sometimes as runners on high probability days as well. But that way, taking partials quickly and heavier on low probability when it's just giving you low risk, low hanging fruit, leaving more when it's on, and the exact contract amount will be based off of whatever I'm using, right? If I'm in 17 contracts, whatever, I'll take 5 off as partials, 10 off at the high, leave the other 2 for runners, something like that. I know, Creed. It's unfortunate. So obviously drop down here. It's 10 o'clock. I'm forming this new low. Do I think we're still bullish? Probably not, based on what we're seeing, but I don't really want to be shorting into this mess. There's a 1 hour gap I have marked out here. Obviously, we do have session low and previous daily low. There's no SMT at the highs. I want you to notice that, right? London high has no SMT here. We've got this short-term SMT right there for the session, but in terms of the actual day, there's nothing at that London high, which it's not needed. Coming back to the session, 5-minute order flow is still bearish, obviously. Got this immediate rebalance coming in here. And in terms of a target, I'm going to put this down. I'm trying to see if I want shorts, like if it's actually a good idea. Because I don't think it is. While like targeting a reclaimed gap. Yeah, you got a bullish order block with the gap there. Just dropped into discount. Boom. Yeah, I'm with you there, Maddie. Another psychology thing. Obviously, if you're in this stream or if you have the charts pulled up, anticipation always builds. Whenever you're looking in front of the charts. So sometimes you think, oh, just because I'm showing up to work today, I'm owed a trade or I'm going to take a trade. And you may not acknowledge that consciously, but sometimes subconsciously, that's what we're thinking. So the only way you beat that is just be aware of it and then don't let it control your actions. Okay, so anticipation building, coming into especially the macro time, right? If you have a key, the only problem I have with ICT concepts in terms of timing the market is sometimes our anticipation builds so much going into that time of day that we then force to trade just because it's the time of day to do it. That's not what you want to be doing. So like in this case, okay, we have macro time, but just because it's macro time doesn't mean anything. We still got to find a high quality setup. And even if macro time finishes, these rules are here to keep you safe rather than to limit you. So there may be setups after that, but if your rules is just macro time, just this, it's better to sit out and learn from that. And maybe if you want to build on your model, you can, than to break rules and obviously reinforce negative habits. We are holding this inefficiency down here. I'm trying to look if we do have short-term SMT on the 1 minute chart. Let's see here. And right there. All right, not major. So yeah, I'm not gonna look for shorts today. Even if it does drop, it's showing its indication of high resistance, right? When you see the lack of breakaway gaps forming, number one, and then number two, all of the inefficiencies are being almost perfectly balanced and leaving these kind of runners here, or these stops here. It's indication of high resistance. You saw that yesterday on the move down, right? High resistance, building all this liquidity. Next day runs it out. And we actually leave some of this here. Why didn't we go for the AM session high? This failure to, failure to sweep, and even the previous daily high, the failure to sweep there is almost more important than when it does sweep it, because it's telling you something about the future. It's telling you that it's generating and building liquidity there for a further and future purpose. Normally as a target. Very, very rarely do you see low resistance build just for it to manipulate, at least on that kind of time frame. So okay, now we're taking out this low. That basically invalidates the day for me. Post 10 a.m. formed the low. So it may be dropping bearish and maybe just consolidating. At this point, I'm no longer looking for anything today. But like I was saying, typically when you see this kind of liquidity in terms of a higher time frame with kill zones generating like this, very rarely does it sweep it and then come back down. Normally it's going to generate that for targeting purposes. Like that. Someone watch that Asian logo. Hey, let me screenshot this. I'll put it in predictions chat. I'm not looking for anything anymore. All right. So Asian low should probably go. I don't know if we're gonna go all the way down from previous daily low, at least for the session. Not too bad of a day. Woke up, got bias, showed up today, stay disciplined, patient, no setup for me. So that is an easy dub in my book. And we carry on to the next. So tomorrow, same kind of protocol as today. I'll stream if it's good. If it's bad, I'm not going to force anything. Thursday, on the other hand, Thursday and Friday, there'll be streams regardless of price action, Lord willing. So whether that price action is good, whether that price action is bad, we will have streams on those days just to study it regardless. And I don't think that today's a wasted day, and you shouldn't either. To me, this just reinforces my positive habits, my ability to be patient, my trust in myself, and obviously the identification of low probability conditions coming into the morning and then being hesitant proved to obviously keep me safe for today. Didn't force any longs, didn't flip short. Even if it does drop back down, I can see its high resistance coming down. So not something that I want to be engaging with. And you look at every single day as the process. What'd you do today that was building yourself up? So to me, this is an easy win. Just stacking up those wins. Friday I won, didn't trade. Monday I won, didn't trade. Tuesday I won, didn't trade. Doesn't matter about the P&L. I know that P&L will stack up as long as I'm doing exactly what I need. And I know that, Thursday, Friday, if it gives it to me, I can take the entire daily low to daily high if I want to, and it gives it to me. So I'm not stressing about a setup, and you shouldn't either. And this is trading. The work in trading is patience. The work in trading is managing yourself. The work in trading is not pushing the button, right? That's the work. Everyone can come in here and push buttons. Everyone can come in here and get 50 trades off and have a green day, right? It doesn't take any skill to be green. I can take a random person off the street, tell them to click buy or sell, and they'll have someone randomly will have a green trade or a green day. So in a sense, there's no skill in trading from that side of it. There is skill in taking good trades, I understand. But I'm saying the skill that you develop as a trader, part of it is the ability to obviously look at probabilities and look at process over outcome, and then the ability to manage yourself to the T. Manage yourself in terms of expectations, manage yourself in patience, everything. So our job is that. Our job is not to take a trade. Our job is not to show up and you get paid just for showing up. You get paid to make the right decisions over and over and over again. It's when those decisions stack up that you see, obviously, your capital start to grow. It's a direct correlation. So our work here today, and as well as like, sometimes it seems like you're not doing a lot of work, especially when you have a good model, right? You may only work and take a trade in terms of what the society deems as work. Take a trade one time a week or 2 times per week. That does not mean that you're lazy. That does not mean you're not working, because our work stems into our personal lives. Our work stems into managing ourselves in pre-market, in post-market, during the setup, during the session. So it's our work is all encompassing, right? 24 hours I'm technically on the clock because I'm constantly being the filter to my mind, not letting negative stuff come in. I'm letting just positive stuff come in. Sometimes I'm fighting against negative emotions. I'm fighting against, oh, here's a setup here in PM session. I see where it's going. I can easily take a setup on this, but it's the skill in trading is having the sword and shield against those kind of thoughts. That's the work. So in reality, sometimes we do more work than others just because of the amount of mental capital you have to spend and the mental fortitude you have to have that other people don't have, right? This is a 1% game. Only the 1%, only the 5% will make it in trading. That's just the numbers of it, right? It's like 90% of traders lose or are consistently losing. So this to me is work, because you show up, okay, you're patient, decide not to take a trade. If it's not there, that's the work. So that's a win. And that's the way you have to look at trading. If you're always looking at it from the green and the red, they're always looking at it from the outcomes, and you're just placing all of your satisfaction from that, to be completely honest, you're not going to be profitable, because you have to come to the conclusion and the realization at the end of the day that every single time you anchor your satisfaction and your self-worth and your feeling like you're doing good in trading off of your outcomes, you'll have it'll constantly be this, right? You do really good, then you blow the accounts, then you do really good, then you blow the accounts, then you start managing it, and because it's always based off of, oh, am I winning or am I losing, instead of what am I doing that I can just stack wins up and almost always win. If you're always winning, that self-confidence, the trust, everything is going to start just stacking up, and it's going to be instead of a downward snowball, it's going to be an upwards. And you're going to always just constantly build yourself up and become better and better and better. And that's what you have to look at trading as. So in this case, the work here is done. Obviously, it's about 80% done. I'm going to go in and journal and obviously reaffirm all the things I just said, close out the charts, and that's it for the day. And obviously, like I said, throughout the day, you still have to have that mental fortitude to stay disciplined, to not worry about other things, and obviously not dwell on losing trades or winning trades. The more you dwell and place more thought energy into the winning or losing, the more that you'll see it affect your trading, right? It's when you have a losing trade and then throughout the entire day or the entire weekend, you think about that losing trade. It's going to have some effect on you. Same thing with a winning trade, right? If you take a good trade and it's a winning trade, you can be proud of it having a winning trade, but be proud of the fact that you followed your rules and you executed well, not the fact that it was a winning trade. Because then if you spend, oh, I'm so good at trading, or this was such a good trade, look how much money I made, blah, 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 and you keep thinking about that throughout the day and throughout the weekend, you're all, you got two lines, you got the middle, and you're already up here. You always need to be staying around the baseline, right? Say when you come back from a holiday, right? You don't look at trading for a week or something, and you come back to trading and it feels like I'm a whole new person. How come that's like I'm not even? And then eventually you start to drift one way, and then boom, this is the greed line, and this is the fear line. So you have to figure out how is it that we stay as traders in the middle the entire time, instead of swaying up one way and then crashing one way, and then you're like this. You don't want that. You don't want that in life. You don't want that in trading either. It's boring. There's not a lot of fun stuff. It's not a roller coaster ride. It's flat, boring. It's peace is what you're looking for. And peace is, there's not a lot of excitement. There's excitement in other things, but trading is supposed to be boring, flat, non-emotional, and you're just showing up to do your work and you leave. I don't want to spend any more time with these charts than I need to, because it drains me. Right? You have to constantly be focused. You have to constantly be attacking your mind in a sense, or controlling your mind. So I don't want to spend any more time in front of these charts than you do. And you probably did this for the freedom aspect of it. So I'm not going to watch this in the PM session. I'm not going to look at it in Asian or London, try and look for the setup. The next time I'm going to be looking at the charts to trade is tomorrow in the morning. And that's it. And that's trading, right? So I'm going to journal, right? I'll probably screenshot some of these things, and obviously when the day's finished, I may come in and do a market review, which we'll probably have for today. And that's work. All right. So take care of the rest of the day. Like I said, we'll probably have a market review for later, probably in the public stage. So I'll ping you guys when that is up. As I said before, check out the models and reviews section. I'll ping this in this chat right here if you want to check this out. The video from last night talking about low probability conditions, very, very useful, I think, if you're struggling with that topic. And then obviously this stream will be on Thursday or Friday, or potentially tomorrow, based on the price action as usual. Yep, the review will be recorded and uploaded. This one's also recorded and uploaded, so I'll post these later today. And if you've got any questions, I got to answer a bunch of DMs, so I'll get cracking on those for today. All right, so take care, and I will talk to you guys very, very soon. Peace.